Here we are embarking on the next journey of the 1997 C5 Corvette. I know it's been quite a number of minutes since there's been any C5 Corvette content coming out of Mr. Black. Got all kinds of things going on around here, and you have a parking lot full of cars. So the newest project that we're going to start with is actually a project that I have not seen a single YouTube video on. And if you can imagine, you can see what the camera's pointing at. We are going to start the process, which I don't think is as scary of a monster as it may seem. It looks pretty intimidating to a lot of people, but what we're going to be doing is putting in a 411 PCM, which is much the next generation essentially. The 1997 PCM for the LS engines is pretty archaic in comparison to even the later Gen 3 computers. So there's many reasons that people do this swap. It usually involves either high horsepower boosted applications or big cubic inch, like 427s, things like that. Anything over 400 cubic inches, I would suppose. So we're not currently running anything that incredible, but there are plans for the future, and one of the other things that I would kind of like to start dabbling in is tuning myself. So I figured if I'm going to head this direction in the future, I would rather start with a PCM that is the most common and everybody knows and understands the ins and outs of all aspects of it. So as usual, wouldn't be a Mr. Black video if I didn't already start working on the thing before I grab the camera. There's a couple of different videos out there that show how to get the PCM out of one of these. Yellow Vet 04, he's got a really good video on pulling the PCM out, like if you were going to send it off to have a mail order tune put on it. I went ahead and pulled my fender loose. A little bit of dirt and junk back there. This really helps open up some space to get to the I guess it'd be the aft part of the bracket there. Kind of got to take some of these screws out a little bit blind. So I'm going to go ahead and finish. Well, if it goes without saying, you got to take the cover off. There's a plastic extension to the fender liner. You're going to want to take that off. You can see it laying down there. And then to get the fender pulled out as far as I did, there's one screw right here. I took the screw out right there. And then right there, there's a fender in the door jamb. There's a bolt and a tab in the door jamb, if you will, that's taken out from this side through the fender. So you need a long extension to get to that bolt. And then that lets the fender come loose quite a ways. You can see the gap back there so that you can get to the... Having this fender this loose makes it so you can get to the couple of bolts on the plastic PCM bracket right there. So I'm going to go ahead and get this taken apart, get the computer out, and then we'll look at the connectors and go from there. A couple of things I want to point out now that I've got this taken apart a little bit further is people talk all the time about lead acid batteries, wet lead acid batteries leaking slowly over the years. This car's only got 32,000 miles on it, and you can see the surface rust on the frame rail. So in the process of doing this PCM swap, I'm going to get that all cleaned up, and I'll probably brush some like POR 15 on there. I got the cover PCM bracket outer shell, if you will, taken off, and you can kind of see some crusty stuff on the case of the old 97 computer, but overall I don't think this car has any serious catastrophes with the battery corrosion. So I'm gonna move on, get the two main connectors off the PCM, and then take the PCM out, and then take the bracket off the frame rail, and we'll be ready to proceed. Good morning, everybody. So we're gonna continue off on our journey of repinning our PCM connectors to make the switch to 411 PCM. You can see this one, all I've done is remove the black tape. All the covers are still on, and then on the red one I've removed the back cover and the red covers over the sockets. I removed the black tape. Like I said, gotta be real careful doing that. I don't know if it'll show or not, but I nicked that wire right there. Actually, I just nicked the insulation when I was cutting the tape off, so don't be a dumbass and be careful if you're taking that tape off. So I'm going to get the covers off of this guy, and then we'll start the depinning process. And I chose to buy a fresh set of connectors. You can get these off of eBay for like, I think it was 40 bucks or something like that. That way you can depin from your old connectors one wire at a time, plugging them into the new spots. So we'll be depinning these one at a time and transferring to the new connectors utilizing this handy dandy chart. So you can see on this side we have location, and then on this side we have the new homes. So we will follow this one at a time until we are done, and then we'll proceed to put it back together. Now, I'm not going to bore you guys to death and have you sit here and watch this whole entire process, because I'm pretty sure that that would be about as boring as possible. But we'll go ahead and take this back cover off. These things are a little tight. It's got like 6 clips. From what I've seen online, I don't think these really get reused because of the way the wires lay. There we go. So we took that guy off. These don't do anything to like seal the wires or anything like that. It's more just a protector. We'll go ahead and take these blue guys off. There's you're pushing on the white plastic part to release at each end. Get those covers off. I know it doesn't really show with my poor camera angles and poor lighting, but if you're doing this, it will make sense to you on where to push to release these. And so you can see all the sockets in there.
You've got mail.
Some guys call them pins. To me, it's a socket because that's female. The pin is in the PCM. So to release a wire, I'm going to release this guy and then probably plug him right back in. But just for demonstration purposes, we're going to lift up just like that. And there you go. So you can see how that came out of there. Go ahead and stab him back in for temporary. You can see him coming through there, and then click, lock in. All right, so I'm gonna do this about, I don't know, I think it's 80 times or something like that. Yeah, about 75 or 80 times. Actually, it might be 160 times between the two connectors. Anyways, that's a lot of wires. So I'll probably do about halfway through and then give an update. All right, so here we are at the halfway point. Sorry about the background noise. Hopefully it's not too bad. So I've done the original red connector. It's been I've done the original red connector. It's depinned. This is the original blue connector. He's what we're going to go through next. So as you can see, the red connector, when depinned and plugged into the new connectors, is about a split difference between new blue and new red. And it'll be the same, obviously, with old blue being split into new blue, new red. It's coming along real nice. Took me a second to pull my head out of my bum and realize that there's probably a good half dozen wires or more that are not here because this is a manual transmission car. So if you have an automatic, you're going to have a few more wires for that. So we've just been following our handy dandy to from chart, and I've been making a log. This is my log of every wire that's been moved to try and eliminate any mistakes. And I'm pretty confident that everything is skookum at the moment. There's a couple wires that you can see up here that we do not use. They just get stowed. So I'm going to trudge on, and hopefully within an hour or two we'll be ready to power this guy up. Something I might not have mentioned yesterday is the early 97, 98 PCM bracket is different. So that's the old shaped PCM, old bracket. The new bracket's pretty cheap. I think you can find them for like 20 bucks or something like that. I've already kind of tacked this guy. Uses the same holes in the frame, so you don't have to worry about that. So we'll get that all tightened down, and then we will proceed on with hanging the computer and cleaning up the wires. Quick little progress break. Taking a moment off from taping and stretching and wrestling, but we're getting there. It's a lot more presentable than it was. I will say, if you're going to do this particular job, that you just can't you can't expect it to look exactly like it did from the factory. It's just not possible, because all the wires are in a different spot. They're different lengths. So when they build these connectors in the factory wire harness, all the wires are at a predetermined length, and we've essentially changed all that. So you realistically can't get the gray plastic covers back over the connectors. I guess you could call them back shells in the connector world, but that's not really crucial. As long as you have this stuff. I mean, it's still not in its finished position, but we got to get the actual bracket clamp on there to hold the PCM in place, and then I'll figure out how we're gonna kind of route this guy so that it doesn't chafe on anything, and make sure all the wires are not going to rub on the plastic cover that goes the inner fender. So yeah, next we'll put this piece on, and then we'll get the this should be the module for the throttle, fly-by-wire throttle body. So we're almost there. Should be ready for a test fire. I don't think it's going to run very good, just due to the mods done to the car, but we'll work on tuning it after a bit. So here we are with pretty much the finished project. Got the fender put back into place. So let me see if I can get this guy up here. You kind of see how I routed everything. I think it's all gonna be just fine and not rub on the plastic cover that covers this whole menagerie. So I think we are to the point where we're getting ready to start it up and see if it will run. So I'm getting ready to start the Corvette up for the first time after the PCM swap. I'll reiterate for the 10th time that this particular PCM that I got has a 2003 Z06 operating system in it. This is a 1997 C5 pre-Z06. I think it'll run. I think the only glaring thing that I have that is different right now that I have, but I don't have it installed, is this has the original MAF, or mass airflow, from 97. I'm going to be changing to a Z06 mass airflow, but other than that, I essentially have the same heads, same injectors, LS6 intake. I do have 28-pound injectors. My cam is quite a bit bigger than a Z06 cam, but I'm guessing the computer parameters will be slightly closer than so it may idle a little bit. Regardless, no matter how you slice it and dice it, the car's going to have to be tuned again. I'll be making a few more changes that are going to require some changes to the tune anyways. So let's go ahead and try starting this guy and see what happens. It's actually kind of tough to get in and out of this thing while it's up on the quick jacks. It's kind of unnatural, and it's parked up against the wall. Okay, so we're here. All right, let's see what happens when we cycle the power. Okay, so the fuel gauge should be correct. I do believe that is where it was when I left it with the old PCM. All my radio settings are my door is not ajar. Okay, it says our oil life is 4%. Okay, oil life remaining is 100%. Go ahead and turn it back off once. Verify that the fuel pump primed, which it did. All right, let's see what happens. Should definitely idle and rougher. Well, it runs. It stinks pretty bad. I'm guessing the fueling is off from the mass airflow being different. Some of you tuning experts may know more if that's the right track or not, but anyways, now that I know it runs, everything seems to be proper on the dashboard. I think we're going to start doing the rest of our changes in the next few weeks and probably inspire a few more videos. Going to be going to a fast intake, a Haltech air bridge, Z06 MAF, and I'm going to be changing the headers to something a little bit more low profile. I don't have any beefs with the current headers that I have on the car other than they hang really low, and this car sits low, so it drags on everything. Hopefully this was helpful. If you guys have any questions, you know where to put them.